Hi friends, I have a question for you. What would you say what a spiritual awakening is?
There is a life I lead in this city, hurrying to cut my teeth. I can take what I need to get by. It doesn't make it easy. The other piece of my heart moves slow, somewhere in the great unknown. When I return from the afterglow, will you carry me like I am whole again? Wait, hold on, put me together, take me back where I belong. I want it all. I had a feeling, but the feeling is all gone. Wait, hold on, put me together, take me back where I belong. I want it all. I had a feeling, but the feeling is all gone.
Some say that a spiritual awakening is when you stop living so much in the past and in the future. And when you wake up from that dream, when you are filtering everything throughout your ego. But instead, you have an almost simultaneous awareness of yourself and your relationship of that with everything else. And there's so many different ways to wake up from that dream, from the matrix, like many others call it. The most common one is through suffering or chaos. Like saying some life-changing event, like a disease, a divorce, the loss of somebody, or even it can be just life-threatening experience. But some others have spiritual awakening in form of spontaneous, with no suffering at all, just through the self-practice of awareness. And regards the way that people are waking up, there's no doubt about it that in this era, more and more people are experiencing spiritual awakenings all around the world.
Feeling is all gone. Feeling is all gone. If I could take you back to my youth and show you what I wish I knew, my will is strong with a place to lean. In the moment I hung desperately, the other ring on my wrist is gold, pairing with the light it holds. When I return from my skin and bones, I'm remembering the words you told me. Wait, hold on, put me together, take me back where I belong.
And I still remember, like if it was yesterday, the first spiritual awakening that I had. And as many other people in their first spiritual awakening, I was under the effects of a psychedelic named LSD. And even though you don't need it in order to awake, in my case it was like that. So it wasn't a spontaneous awakening, and even if it was pretty fast, I cannot say that I wasn't suffering in that time of my life. Actually, I was passing through really difficult moments because I was in a pretty long and toxic relationship, and I was pretty much numbing myself every day just to not be aware that I was in that damage of relationship. And also, I remember having this huge pressure of being somebody that actually I wasn't. And that, my friends, can be really hurtful for your soul. But well, getting back to my story, it was in 2014 and I was about to turn 30 years old. And as I told you, I took LSD with some friends and we went to the beach. And I remember sitting down with one friend just talking about life. And he asked me one of the most important questions that I have ever received. We were talking about thoughts. And he asked me, Pia, where is that you see your thoughts? And I remember just thinking about it and I was like, well, I see them in my head. I mean, they're inside me. Okay, he said. They're inside your head, but exactly where? Where do you see them? And I started thinking and I was like, well, I'm seeing them here in my forehead in front of me. Okay, so if you are seeing those thoughts, who is you, the one who is behind all of that? Who is the one observing those thoughts? That made me think for the first time that there was somebody else behind just seeing my thoughts. But who is that? Who's the one observing them? It's crazy because that was like a big explosion of reality. And actually, that was the first time that I realized that there was a present awareness inside of me. Enlightened people says that the awareness happens when you stop being the observer and instead you ask yourself, who is the one observing? One good example of this is like watching a horror movie. While you're watching, your heart races. You feel excited and scared. You're living inside the movie. But then your phone rings and you're brought back to a different reality. You are just laying down in your room watching a horror movie on Netflix. In that case, you are the observer of the movie. Getting back to the story, that night, me and my friend, we talked for hours. And it's hard for me to explain today exactly which was the words that we used. But for some reason, all of a sudden, it all clicked inside me. He explained me the concept of the ego and how we identify and react to it. He explained me how the ego helps us to survive in this world and why we have the need to defend it so much. I don't know if it was the way that he was explaining it or just the effects of the psychedelics inside me. But for the first time in my life, I could understand the concept of waking up from this illusion. After that night, something really big inside me changed. I just couldn't see life through the same filter as I was seeing it before. Now that I could understand that there was something else observing everything, there was a present awareness behind all of it that it just couldn't be ignored. But on the contrary, it called me to explore it even more and more each day. And one of the tools that helped me a lot after this process started was to read a book named The Power of Now of Ekhart Tolle. This is a book that if you haven't read it before, I totally recommend it to do it as soon as possible. Because it is a book that explains in a really simple and practical way what is awareness and how to practice living in the present moment. And I remember that the more I was reading that book, the more I was practicing just being aware of my surroundings, just being aware of my emotions, of the senses. Things like, for example, every day I just took some minutes of the day just to pay attention, just to expand this awareness. And I realized that the more I was doing that, the less I was thinking just in what is the next step. In other words, I was not that much in the future with all of that anxiety. And also it helped me a lot to not go that much to the past. Because you know what they say, if you travel a lot to the past, you can carry pretty much sadness, resentment, and just regrets. And if you travel a lot to the future, you have a lot of anxiety. So definitely the freedom lies in the present moment. And this book is really good in just giving you practical examples on how to do this. And I realized that with time and practice, I started noticing many things that I haven't seen before. Things like I wasn't going through life with so much in autopilot, but instead, I started consciously observing my life as if I was watching a movie. For the first time, I managed to see myself from the position of the observer, with a non-judgmental eyes, but instead letting everything happen as it was, with no trying to change it, control it, or react to it. After this first spiritual awakening, a lot has happened in the past 7 years. Lots of learnings, lots of others awakenings, changes, and especially chaos and transformation in general. But definitely this first awakening was the first time that I felt it, that I kind of take out the veil and I start seeing the world with new eyes. And it was definitely the beginning of this big and beautiful journey. But with that comes a lot of changes, which a lot of them can be pretty hurtful also. And I'm gonna tell you all about it in my next videos, but for now I would love to know about you. Have you experienced any awakenings? I don't know where you're standing at. Okay, so hope to see you in my next video. Much love.